So in a way, I'm gonna start from the beginning of my trance today. That is not the beginning. It's just about the video, because the whole story is the whole universe. But while many times in my life I felt I was dying, sometimes by an accident, falling from some place, and some other times I feel like I'm going to die of a heart attack or have something in my brain. And I face the death so many times that in many moments, the other day, I didn't know I had COVID. I didn't feel, I felt that I didn't care if I thought I could die for whatever reason was going on in my body. Because of the high fever, I never thought about sickness. I never thought about COVID. I never thought about anything like that. So my body was feeling so sick that I thought, it's the moment. And I was getting ready, and in a way I was thinking, I hope, because it was like a serious moment because of the fever, but just the fever is a physical concept. What you are feeling is completely unreal, but it is in the same scale, crossing the dimensions of what is inside and what is outside. Well, I had many stories, and the last one was interesting because I came back to speak with my friend, feeling that I came too early in a very funny way. You don't get what I'm saying? I came too early. I'm going to come back in 2,000 years. I said 2 million years or whatever. It doesn't matter how many years, because every day people like this are trying to share the message about body, mind, consciousness. The rest, they don't have words to mention. The way I've been explaining the Matroska's concept in just a simple video that means nothing for 99.9999999% of the population, maybe there are 2,000 people who could be able to connect with what I'm saying, and these people for sure are also spreading this in any way they can. It can be the keys in the way they can, but once I see the ceiling, then I go to a higher dimension or higher perspective, because Paul Stanley and Jane Simmons can be part of the alien invasion, because the invasion, this comes from another story. When Spaniards went to America, and the natives saw the Spanish people arriving on horses with armors, maybe they didn't even see what they were seeing, because they couldn't even make up in their mind what the fuck was going on in there. And that's one of the infinite theories that they can exist or not, because I think I read about it probably 30 years ago. And by reading these things and imagine some others, you can get to feel how it would feel in that way. And when you do it practicing with people, you are in a gym practicing all these concepts, sensations, feelings, mixing it up. So you are making like a protein shake, but undimensional shake, And when the other person knows about the dimensions, you get very well connected with that person. It's like telepathy. You can make the person feel things that she doesn't have to feel. She has to be aware that she was feeling. And when you start breaking all kind of mental barriers and zip in your mind, flying as a butterfly, knowing that you were a caterpillar, changing your life in the cocoon and feeling dead, you can only change a lot the perspective by feeling dead in that perspective. That one is the perfect one in that moment. But once you know there is another, none of them are so important as the capacity of being aware of open cosmos to understand what the difference in between inside and outside is. Because I don't see where the inside and the outside begins and the other one starts or ends. Because it doesn't have to be like the socks that you see something. It could be a universe, right? Or it can be a black hole, like pushing in the middle of the cosmos. And then when you put it upside down, for who is it inside and outside in that level? It's like the yin yang in a quantum level, because what disappears, it doesn't disappear. And it doesn't have to be a gate to another dimensions, because there is no gate of another dimensions. What is the gate from the second dimension to the third dimension? No, you are a circle, you are a dot in a circle, and you can only move in the space inside the circle. No, the circumferencia. I don't know, because it's important. Because once I say circle, for me, it's already a three-dimensional perspective. Because the circle doesn't have to have the circumference. Because I was talking about a spot. And the spot, if I put it in a circle, without circumference, I'm creating already three dimensions. It doesn't matter, it's the different perspective. The thing is that there is a circumference and a spot. For the spot, the circumference is like for us a wall. But for us, a wall, you have a ceiling. So you have no fucking idea what the spot is imagining when it's hitting the wall. That wall is infinite in any possible ways that the spot can imagine. So nothing can come and become a eraser and erase the spot. Nothing can be like that, but for you it's so easy to see it. But what would be the gate to go to that dimension? The eraser that create that reality? So yes, all this was talking about message and death. And dying and feeling there many times and feeling like death is as good and as bad as anything else. Nothing is good or bad. So, it's good for your mind, of course. For your mind and for your body, there are many things that they are good and bad. For your mind and for your body. But for consciousness, there's nothing, because it's everything. It's like we cannot even imagine the quantum yin-yang of the universe I was talking about. So that's what the concept death for human means. Something that nobody can imagine. But they are trying to. So when you are imagining it with your rational mind, those are the paths, the only paths that you can take. The ones offered by religion, the ones offered by this, by... The only real one is yours. But yours Only when you are infinite percent honest with yourself. Otherwise, it is contaminated by your body or your mind. Because I'm talking about consciousness. And the least honest your body against your mind is, vice versa, or your mind against other people's minds, in that way that you are not being honest because you are creating a conflict or whatever that you wouldn't like to be created, that is cannot, it doesn't have to be a conflict. So talking about the connection of body, mind, consciousness, death, message, and the invasion of the Spaniards in America, and there is always someone coming, changing everything. And Jesus was going to change many things. Buddha was going to change many things. They needed 27 Buddhas to start having conflict instead of changing 27 things. Because they could see what they didn't do the same thing, and then they create that current instead of mixing them all together and see the higher one. So people, what they are doing is making things, the higher concepts, putting them into more irrelevant ideas wherever is not possible to get to a higher level of consciousness. So there are people cheating in all the ways, in religion, in ideologies, in shamanism, in everything. So people are killing people just because they have different ideas. That's and the killers are still waiting for their Jesus or for their Mahoma. I'm talking about the civilization today. All Muslims and Christians cannot go like that to a higher consciousness if you are feeling like killing or doing something in favor of your religion against others. When you are like that, you are not being honest with yourself at all, because you have never put yourself in the other place. That's the first thing to know. So most of humanity are absolute psychopaths. This is the psychopathy of the society. It's not the lack of empathy, it's the lack of awareness. Because the empathy is a rational concept that doesn't talk about the real empathy, which is only when you are aware of yourself and aware of your surroundings. Otherwise, the best case of empathy not being having a higher level of awareness is feeling happy for someone who is succeeding. And many other different ways, but that's one that many people would have to work on. And that's unbelievable that there are still people like that, just because they think that the other person doesn't deserve that. Because you deserve more than the other person. So you're not being honest with yourself. You are more talented than that other person, maybe. It didn't happen, of course. What is the reason? Infinite. Why aren't you happy because of the other person is getting some succeed? Be happy. At least maybe is sharing something that you would be sharing. But when you are in a higher level of awareness, and you can express that and help other people to open their minds and make their life's path infinite, longer, because once you reach the ceiling, all was a comedy. That was the beginning for you. Once you realize that all was a comedy, take your first step and create your own universe.